Having escaped an uncertain fate at the hands of the Count of Savoy, Geoffrey and his loyal companions now found themselves under the protection of none other than Boniface of Montferrat. Escaping the shadow of his brother, the legendary crusader Conrad, wasn't easy, but for nearly a decade now, Boniface was the sole ruler of Montferrat, ever striking to extend his dominion. As the cousin and trusted counselor of Philip of Swabia, he was instrumental in quelling resistance in Lombardy. Yet, having passed the 50th year of his life, Boniface felt the holy call of Jerusalem in his very bones, urging him to fulfill his brother's noble legacy. As they traversed from one commune to the next, the eyes of the Italian folk gathering in streets and balconies brimmed with both fear and reverence for the Marquis. Squires fell to their knees, pledging their swords to his service, while merchants presented him with bottles of fine wine or exquisite jewelry. Yet Boniface declined their gifts, making offerings of his own instead. As he attended mass at each stop along the way, he was seen kneeling alongside the rest of the common folk. With each passing day, the icy dread of the Alps and the sorrowful memory of Walter's death began to fade into the past, and the group felt their hearts lighten.
Well, senors, having traversed the Empire, I'm curious to ascertain your opinion of it.
I must admit, I never expected to find a land so divided. You have the papal seal of protection and Charlemagne's sword behind you, and yet I witnessed more coats of arms in Pavia alone than across every stop we made in France combined.
When it comes to resilience and obstinacy, none surpass the Italians. No straight furrow can be plowed in these lands. Every county is a tapestry of cities, each city governed by its own commune, and every commune harbors families with diverging ambitions. At times, these ambitions align with the Pope, at other times with the Emperor, yet for most, a mere cipher is enough to alter their course.
When I was a boy, my father told me of the siege of Alessandria. He said that Emperor Barbarossa brought thousands of Brabant mercenaries to surround the city, hoping to starve it out. However, come spring, a lone shepherd strolled out of the city gate leading a cow to pasture. The guards seized him and then
cut the cow's belly open only to find it was full of grain. Barbarossa was aghast and withdrew his men. How swiftly do wicked words fly. Bypassing mountains, meadows, and reason. I was there, lad, a youth not much older than you. There was no shepherd, no cow filled with grain. My family and that of Pavia were charged with feeding an army twice the size of our city, and we succumbed to disease. On Christmas Eve, the Moravian cowards deserted, and come spring, our tunnels were repulsed and our siege towers set aflame. What you heard is but the tale of a wet nurse spun to entertain rather than to instruct. Yet it speaks true of the stubborn nature of the Lombards.
Stubborn, fickle, yet masters of warfare and finance. Your people make some of the best weapons and armor in all of Christendom.
Fickle, you say? I prefer the term adjustable. What else could we be given our station, the giants that surround us, and the legends who came before us? Yet, I have a feeling that out of all of those who claim Rome as their heritage, you are bound for the most adjustable city of them all. A floating lagoon, born long after the days of Caesar and Augustus.
I haven't.
Calm, ami. Your secret is safe with me. Theobald is clever, but is he wise?
What exactly is that supposed to mean?
You seek to gamble your fate into the hands of men who have wagered for centuries, and rarely do they lose. For the right price, I could be your steadfast counselor.
And what would that price be, my lord?
I'm an old man, fortunate enough to have a son to inherit my lands and to continue my father's name. Yet, my brother's deeds remain undone. I will see you safely to Ravenna and back across the Alps if you wish. But when you return to court and Theobald inquires of me, speak softly and convey my admiration to him. When the time comes, my host will be ready to extend this kindness, not just through the valleys of Lombardy, but through the hellfire of Terra Santa. Upon our success, I would only hope that as a good Christian, he would elevate me as a count there.
You are a generous man, Lord Boniface. I will personally write back to you, delivering my lord's response to your offer.
Good. Now let's get going. The road is long and the days are short.
A splendid barge awaited their arrival, and as they stepped aboard, they beheld a mesmerizing sight. Hundreds of gondolas formed a sinuous chain, supplying the sprawling city with fresh water. As they glided gently through the winding canals, they were awestruck by the diverse architectural styles that adorned the cityscape. Some houses bore motifs reminiscent of the Greeks, while others displayed arches characteristic of the Islamic world, and a few incorporated Gothic elements. Many whispered that Venice teemed with more than twice as many inhabitants as London, and as they surveyed the profusion of churches, there could be no doubt that such tales held true. After their arduous journey, the envoys finally reached the Grand Ducal Palazzo, where they were ushered into a sumptuous chamber to await the venerable Doge. In a matter of moments, the silver table began to groan under the weight of delicacies, served by a procession of diligent attendants. There were pastries from Egypt, figs from Syria, quinces from Jerusalem, plums from Shiraz, and bowls brimming with almonds, pistachios, hazelnuts, and walnuts, all glistening with a crystalline coat of sugar. Each guest received a porcelain cup, hailing from a distant land, while 3 servants bearing Murano glass vases preferred an array of beverages. There was the familiar light pink claret wine from Bordeaux, Hippocras crafted with the finest cinnamon and cloves, and finally, a fragrant dark wine from Crete. The distinguished guests, attempting to maintain their composure, savored the various treats spread before them as anticipation coursed through the opulent room. Their collective attention was roused as the grand doors dramatically swung open. 2 guards, resplendent in their ornate uniforms, led a solemn procession of 10 men into the chamber. 6 of these men found their seats along the designated wall, while 3 others took their places at the table. At the heart of it all stood the Doge, his unique pointed hat and robe of crimson silk marking his status. The Doge was 6 years shy of reaching a century, and he'd long since lost his sight. Yet he commanded unwavering respect through the sheer weight of his presence. His movements, though unhurried, were calculated, and when he spoke, it was with the utmost grace and unwavering conviction.
On behalf of all Venetians, I welcome thee to La Serenissima. My name is Enrico Dandolo. These men beside me are the leaders of the Quarantia, while the others to the side are my minor consiglio, representing each of the city's 6 districts. Together we form the Signoria. No foreign dignitary can meet me without their presence and consent. But enough formalities. How may our republic serve you, fine gentlemen?
My name is Geoffrey of Villadouan, Marshal of Champagne, and leader of this diplomatic mission. It is a great honor to meet the Serenissima Signoria in person. My companions and I are in awe of your great city. With me, I carry this carte blanche representing and signed by each of our liege lords. Both the Almighty and his earthly vicar have summoned Christendom to fulfill the mission left unfinished, the liberation of our most holy city. We gave our blood, sweat, and tears, trudged through mud and snow, all in the name of this letter reaching your hands. We've explored every conceivable avenue, and our council has ultimately decreed that you, noble sir, are the one to guide us to the Altremer on this divine mission. We come vested with the authority to discuss terms under which we may seek your patronage in exchange for your service.
Yes, we are honored to host pious men of such unwavering vigor, and indeed you have chosen a most opportune moment. But, sir, this document lists only 3 noble counts. How can the forces of Champagne, Flanders, and Blois aspire to succeed where entire kingdoms have faltered? The Emperor Barbarossa met his end before even setting foot in the Holy Land. Richard, rebuffed, made his peace. And your own King Philip left immediately after the siege of Acre.
I'm sure someone in your position appreciates the fact that 2 of these counties are the richest and most populous in all of France. Each year, the fairs of cloth, pelts, and notably that of weights draw Italian merchants in pursuit of profit, Venetians among them. Champagne also boasts the most disciplined and skilled knights in all of Christendom. The infidels are vulnerable, and we gleaned valuable insights into their ways. Young Richard in particular understood that to reclaim the Holy City, the Sultanate's capital must first fall. With our iron and your sail, we can succeed despite the absence of royal forces. We can muster an army of 4,500 knights, 9,000 shield bearers, and 20,000 infantry, many of whom will carry crossbows.
Time has taught me to be wary of exaggerations made in fits of passion. I mean no offense, Marshal, but how are you to assemble so many knights when Philip himself brought less than 1,000 on his journey? Speaking of the young Augusta, did he even give this expedition his blessing? My sources tell me that he is preparing for war with King John. Furthermore, why did you ride all this way when your king preferred the services of the Genoese? As for Richard's plan, I hope you do not mean that you want us to deliver you to denial, as that would surely dissuade many of your potential followers. Why venture so deep into enemy territory where no pilgrim has prevailed when we routinely send ships to thriving ports like Tyre, Acre, and Ascalon? There is still time for you to consider your actions and allies, but to satisfy such a request, we would have to cease most commercial activity, and to do that, we would have to have the assurance of at least one monarch.
Henri. May I call you Henri?
Doge Dandolo.
I appreciate your hospitality and pomp, Henri, but I'm old enough to remember the string of misfortunes that beset your lagoon. King Bela has broken your monopoly on the Adriatic. Both Pisa and Genoa have bigger presence in Egyptus than you do, thereby passing your Altremer markets. And then there's this schismatic Manuel who dared to call himself emperor. He blamed you for a crime you didn't commit, arrested your merchants, and seized your ships. Do I even need to remind you what happened afterwards?
You recall bitter memories that I shall never.
You fell for yet another deception and were cursed with the plague that you brought home after they took away your eyes. And then came the time of Andronikos. I had friends, you know. Men I traded with, men I trusted. When I heard of the massacre, how they dragged their lifeless bodies through the very streets that Constantine built. You have clearly forgotten, old man, for after Salah ad-Din nearly leveled your kingdom, you fled and entrusted your enterprise to that wretched city once more. You mowed glass, gold, and wood, but where are your mines? Where are your forests? How long before another tyrant decides to usurp the throne, imprison his kin and your merchants? United, we stand a chance to not only conquer the land of milk and honey, but establish a foothold, a permanent foothold. Lend us your armada and your maritime expertise. Sail towards Alexandria to liberate the holy city in the name of your patron saint, and the infidels shall collapse. You would have your own quota, flying the Venetian lion there, as well as Diameta, Babylon, and Jerusalem. Your galleys shall ply the Red Sea freely, and your name shall echo in the annals along Charlemont and Bohemond.
In all my years, I have seldom heard such eloquence from a man of arms. I know little of your liege lord, Theobald, but if you are there to guide his young hand, then all the better for it. You've uttered nothing but truth, and if you pledge to raise such a formidable host, then I shall put my trust in your words. The costs shall be heavy, but in return you shall command the finest fleet in the Mediterranean. One not merely built for transport, but also equipped to hurl stone projectiles at our foes. However, there are further matters to address. Firstly, the distribution of war spoils. If we are to be partners, these must be shared equally, whether taken on land or at sea. That said, there are some things which simply cannot be divided. Works of art, bronze sculptures, these are far more precious intact than they possibly could be melted down. We ask that your men preserve these, and any columns or obelisks you might otherwise destroy. The patrimony of the ancients must be safeguarded. Lastly, Marshal, we request that once you reclaim the true cross, a fragment of it be brought here to be displayed in the Church of St. Mark.
These terms are agreeable. You have my solemn pledge.
And one final matter. We are presently endeavoring to shift our trading routes. Indeed, a mere fortnight ago, we dispatched envoys to the Ayyubids in pursuit of a potential treaty. Hence, for the time being, I implore you to keep this pact discreet, revealing it only to those within your council.
You speak wisely. For should our men discover that they are not bound directly for the Holy City, many might consider desertion. We intend to obscure our destination, at least until we have departed, so the discretion will be mutual. I am grateful that we have found common ground, and I beg your pardon if my earlier tone caused any offense.
No, not at all. Your rousing speech made me feel like a young man again. I must consult with the Corantia and the Jure Consiglio before delivering our final verdict in 8 days. You shall have servants to attend to your every need, and in the meantime, you are encouraged to explore the canals and discover the marvels they have to offer.
Thank you, great Doge. We will be sure to do so.
Venice was a system of canals and complicated systems of checks and balances. So after the meeting, the envoys were given exceptional lodgings, while the Venetian Senate and councils delved into deliberations concerning their historic proposition. The city's uniqueness captured the imagination of these gallant men, and Geoffrey, ever the diligent scribe, meticulously documented these extraordinary moments, inscribing them with the utmost care. He then rewarded a swift messenger with a handsome payment and entrusted him with the task of conveying these precious accounts to Troy.
My noble liege, Count Theobald, I trust this missive finds you in robust health. Our mission is on the brink of fruition. We have duly conveyed your terms, and as we wait the Council's response, I must offer my impressions of this remarkable city, Venezia. It stands as a marvel unlike any I have ever encountered. Instead of the familiar streets we traverse, here, the entrances of dwellings face a labyrinth of waterways, where curious boats, unlike the noble steeds or trusty mules of our homeland, carry people back and forth. In Venezia, the pace of life is a whirlwind. The streets teem with bustling crowds, and all who traverse them do so with infectious cheer and hospitality. The churches, each a work of art, display peculiar yet awe-inspiring designs. None so more than the Basilica of San Marco. Its grand facade is graced by the presence of a colossal bell tower, doubling as a guiding light in the dark of the night. Here, in place of beggars, one finds accomplished musicians, their melodies filling the air with beauty. Pontoon bridges, exemplified by the Rialto, link the various districts and streets, many of which are reserved for specific trades and crafts. There are dedicated thoroughfares for bakers, soap makers, metalworkers, blacksmiths, and buckle artisans. Fletchers, coopers, woolworkers, bankers, butchers, and goldsmiths. They all occupy their own unique realms. Only the tanners and glassmakers are sequestered to distant islands, safeguarding the city from both the peril of fire and foul odors. It is indeed an ingenious solution. Markets, too, find their own special niches, such as the Naranzeria, famed for its abundance of oranges, and the Riva dell'Oggio, where barrels of cooking and lighting oil are dutifully unloaded. And the Campo della Piscaria brims with the bounty of diverse fish. Woven amid this urban tapestry are the scholars, or guilds, uniting citizens in their shared crafts and trades, thereby enhancing the efficiency of their labor. Venezia, my lord, is a city both beguiling and industrious. A place where the past and present coalesce in a symphony of commerce and culture. As you correctly surmised, the spice market is indeed the grandest and most opulent. But the true heart of this city lies within the Arsenal, an enclave of which I can divulge but little, encircled by two towering fortifications. This special quarter, dedicated to the outfitting and repair of the Venetian fleet, remains surrounded in secrecy, its gates barred to outsiders like ourselves. Each passing day deepens my admiration for the intricate art of banking. I have engaged in discourse with a score of these adept accountants, meticulously describing numbers from one ledger to the next, and I must say, I stand impressed. They often congregate before the venerable San Giacomo, rendering every notion of coin nearly obsolete. Here, before my very eyes, I witness several sea voyages being underwritten by a multitude of esteemed families. These patrons contributed 2/3 of the venture's expenses, ensuring the journey and in return, securing 2/3 of the anticipated profits. Others, more venturesome, financed the entire expedition, anticipating 3/4 of the spoils. In the bustling taverns, scores of skilled mariners await the opportunity to sign contracts, embarking on these voyages armed and laden with their own goods, all of which they later sell without the burden of onerous taxes. Here, on these vibrant streets, neither oarsmen nor merchants bear the weight of shame, and even the Jewish community has carved out their own quarter. I have personally ventured into no fewer than 20 parishes where each church boasts a picturesque courtyard, some even doubling as archery ranges. Ah, how your heart would have soared at this sight. Boys nearly 9 winters old, diligently wielding crossbows. Much as you were when I first entrusted you with such a weapon. I had anticipated fierce rivalries and cutthroat competition. Yet the truth unveiled before me is that the people of this remarkable city do not define themselves as denizens of Malamarco, Chioggia, Jesolo, or Palestrina, but instead, beneath the shadow of the St. Mark's lion, a noble St. Theodore's lizard, they are all Venetians. A communal spirit prevails, where every member shares in the bounty of every prosperous transaction. Here, amidst these immaculate thoroughfares, violence is taboo, absent even amongst the hundreds of Germans, Slavs, and Greeks who walk these very streets. I yearn for the day when you shall lead a magnificent host to these very streets, to bear witness with your own eyes, and fill the void left by my words.
After a brief encounter with tyranny, the Venetians adopted a new form of governance where every action had to be vetted by multiple councils. As such, it would take over a month before the assembled party found themselves summoned back to the opulent palace. Within these magnificent walls, Enrico Dandolo, the venerable Doge of Venice, stood before them. with a sense of gravitas, he began to lay out a proposition which would alter the course of history.
Signori, after extensive deliberation among all patricians over the age of 25, our republic has pledged its unwavering support to this sacred mission. The terms we now outline are bound by our solemn commitment. Over the next year, we shall assemble an unparalleled armada in your service. This fleet shall consist of 200 purpose-built transports, capable of accommodating both men and horses, equipped with armaments, provisions, and skilled crews to navigate and protect you against the harshest of tempests. In addition, we shall contribute 50 armored galleys crewed by 6,000 valiant men, tasked with the escorting and vanquishing of any hostile threat that may obstruct your path. To finance this monumental undertaking, we require a contribution of 4 silver marks for each horse and 2 silver marks for each man, amounting to a total of 85,000 silver marks. Of this, an initial sum of 5,000 silver marks is to be paid before your departure, provided in the form of a loan, while the rest is to be supplied in 4 installments. It is our fervent hope that you and your assembled host shall convene once more in unity on the sacred day of St. Peter and St. Paul, the 29th day of June in the year 1202 of the incarnation of our Lord, Jesus Christo. From that moment onward, rest assured that we shall diligently attend to the provisioning of your troops with sustenance and water over the ensuing 9 months. Our knowledge of the Egyptian ports is extensive, and we anticipate the breaching of their sea defenses. Our martial experts confirm the boldness of your strategy. Once the Sultan's grasp on the Nile weakens, it is only a matter of time before the city of Jerusalem is reclaimed. We kindly beseech you to confer among yourselves, examining the feasibility and acceptance of these terms on your part.
The gambit made by Geoffrey bound the Crusaders with the Venetians, and resolved the majority of their logistical concerns, albeit for a lofty price. The payoff, however, would only occur if Theobald's army broke with the norms of nearly every other military campaign in the Middle Ages. The traditionally decentralized, feudal force would have to form a single body, filling all available seats on the Venetian galleys. Luckily for him, the crusading force was relatively culturally homogeneous, in contrast to the highly diverse crusades of the past. For the people of the time, the native culture and especially language was paramount to the creation of their identity, often more so than religion. In this case, all of the crusaders, with the exception of the Flemish, spoke slightly different versions of languages dual, including Frankian, Champagne, Picard, and Wallon, making this goal a real possibility. With their mission complete, Geoffrey and Miles made their way back to Champagne. Conan and the others, however, wished to be sure the Venetians weren't fleecing them, and made for Genoa to see if they might find better terms. The old marshal's joy turned bitter as he finally arrived and looked upon his liege. It took Theobald's entire strength to mount his horse and greet his mentor. Over the past several weeks, he had struggled with a ceaseless dry cough and piercing headache. Small red spots had started to appear on his chest and abdomen, and none of the herbal remedies, elixirs, purges, sweat baths, bloodletting, or sacred amulets prevented him from getting worse.
There he is, my noble champion. Neither Alps, nor brigand, nor Italian can dissuade you from your course.
My liege, you look... What?
Oh, nonsense. Merely a trial God has bestowed upon me to temper my hubris and arrogance.
Arrogance. Of all the words I could use to describe you, that one would not cross my mind. Please, Theobald, I'm honored by your welcome, but you need to rest.
But of course, did you know that I'm the youngest Crucignati leader in all of history? Not even Tancred.
Young enough to endure whatever malady God has cast upon you, but not like this. Let me carry you to your chambers.
Ah, very well. Come, before Blanche finds out, and you need to tell me about every detail in Venezia. Your letters have been keeping me warm company in these dark times.
I will spare no detail, my lord. Now come.
In the following days, the most esteemed members converged on Troyes, solemnly swearing oaths on sacred relics, pledging to fulfill their promises in the event of their lord's passing. When all his vassals, ministers, and clerics had taken their leave, Theobald found himself on his deathbed, beside his expectant wife. Blanche was days away from delivering their second child, and had written to doctors from Bologna, Salerno, Montpellier, and Oxford, but it was all in vain, a fool's hope that stood no chance to the plight of typhoid.
You remember the cathedral at Chertes? Your wedding dress, the bells ringing, your sister crying, and you smiling. It's been too long since you've smiled.
Fetch me more cold water! Quickly!
Stay with me, Blanche. Please, stay with me. Remember...
You cannot! I forbid you to abandon us. There is so much we need to do. Forsake these oaths and save your strength. This endeavor has sapped you of your energy. Your baby girl Marie needs you. You can teach her how to ride through the meadows. Your future son and heir needs you. You will teach him how to be strong, yet gentle, cunning yet kind. I need you. I cannot do this without you, Theo.
You can. You must. Please, you must ensure that my will is kept to the letter.
To the very depths of inferno with this senseless pilgrimage. This accursed venture is what robbed you of your constitution to begin with. You promised. You said there was no journey you would embark without me.
This voyage is one I cannot bring you on, my beloved. I can feel my tether string snapping, but yours is so vibrant and full of life. Let it not be consumed by shadow. I love you with all of my heart, Blanche. Please, please, would you sing for me?
Sleep, my lord. May dreams guard thee well.
Dream.